Back.
Check this footage out here, y'all. So this was captured on a game trail camera. As you can see, this deer here was captured on camera. You're gonna see some more deer that was captured on camera. But the strange thing is, you're gonna see this black figure start to emerge from the back. Just keep watching. You see this deer turns and look. These deer here are just looking around. But keep watching. Here it goes. Check it out. As you can see, he's right there and he walks over this way, pans over that way. Check him out, you guys. This is recorded in the background. See that black figure? Looks like he's walking on 2 feet.
Interesting. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, I'm going to tell a story. Hey, that actually looks like a lot better of a chat, though. I don't know why, dude. I just could not get it to connect. What is it doing? What is going on, bruh? What is it doing? Jeez, oh Pete, y'all. I don't get it, bro. It is acting kind of funny and laggy. Maybe I was talking about some bad stuff or something. Try that. Use buffering. It's not supposed to be glitchy like that. Is it glitching still? Yeah. My camera should not be lagging like that, fam. This is weird. There we go. It's a little better. Usually I never have this issue. Let's turn it way up here. Output. Yes, I'm going to tell a story. Calm this down here. Snap. Horizontal. Film formatting. MP4. Downscale filters. Still acting funny. Hold on. I'll promote simple. Dark theme. Let me try this too, actually. Hold up. There. Let me back it down. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help a little bit. No. I don't want that. Studio light? Yeah, why not? No reactions. I think that's fresh. Still acting funny. I'm gonna get off portrait, I guess. Just leave it rags. Get all this. Close out some stuff here. Let me get on here and make sure I got everything closed out. Oh, that's a part of it. I got Adobe Acrobat open probably. That's probably what it was. Part of it. And Streamlabs. Screen mirror. That's probably going to help. Acrobat be taking up a lot of freaking bandwidth. Want that. All right. Holy crap, a lot of text messages. What the hell? Let's get out of that for sure. All right. Let's see if that helps. Preset high and then not use buffering. Wop, 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 wop. It's going to freeze up a little bit, but all right. I got all my freaking lights in your screen. Oh, filters on this now. So what I was saying before we got disconnected there was nose confunding or Claudio and I, we'd keep in touch. Come on. What is going on, bro? Jeez. Killing me, Smalls. All right. So we'd keep in touch before he left. And then after he left, it's blouses from him, y'all. I ain't heard nothing from the guy. He won't answer none of my messages. It's like he went ghost mode 100%. 100% ghost mode, y'all. And that's just crazy to me. And I think it's probably because he's not here. You know what I mean? And I could be wrong. But I don't know. I feel like him and Helen have a thing or something. That's just my speculatory prowess on the situation. From what it sounds like, nobody had listened to the story, and then he did. And that's what we have behind us, right there. Oh, come on. What is it doing now? What are you doing? It's almost like somebody's calling me. I feel like somebody's calling me. I feel like somebody's calling me right now. Probably like intentionally as fuck. I feel like it's intentional or something. It's annoying. I lost all my freaking viewers. Half of them. That's what happens. People get frustrated. They're like, "Freak it, I'm out." That's fine. It's all well and good. I've been slacking, y'all. I'm going to get back on it, man. I'm back on my content, back on my game. It's going down, y'all. It's going down. Somebody's calling me, bro. I swear to Bob, somebody's calling me. I swear to Bob, somebody's calling me, dude. Some haters or something. Maybe I got too much shit going on. All right, anyway, y'all. I think we should pick up where we left off. I just can't believe, dude. It's driving me crazy. Do I got too much shit connected? What else could I have connected? It's like I got too much shit connected. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to feel like this is an attack. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Hey, we're getting our numbers back up on YouTube. Let's go. Let's go. What is... Fam. I'm not playing, y'all. Hold up. I'm going to get some of these alert boxes out of here and shit. Maybe that'll help. Alert box, remove. It shouldn't matter, though, dude. Chat highlight. I'm going to get rid of the chat highlight. Remove. We're keeping the chat box. Viewer counts, I like to keep those up. Obviously, got to keep the audio. Super chat goal, frig it. Bye. Tip goal, bye. Just cleaning this up a little bit. I mean, all that stuff's cool and everything, but I really don't need it. We're going back to the basics, fam. So we don't get any rendering issues. You know what sucks now, though? You know what sucks now? Is now your TV, when it used to be a direct line, now your TV's got to eat up your bandwidth. That shit's annoying, bro. Remember when it used to be a box and that the box had a direct cable right to it so it didn't eat your bandwidth? I feel like that was all part of the plan. Hate to say it. They just wanted to eat the bandwidth, to be honest with you. I feel like it was all part of the gig. Just to screw us a little bit more, you know? Because, like, honestly, dude, like, the more I look at stuff out here, it's not even close to the way it should be on this planet at all. Humans do not do this to each other anywhere else except for here. The greed and the money and the thirst for power and money, basically, is totally corrupting man. Like, did you all see the whole Kellogg's thing on TikTok the other day? 400,000 signatures, and a lot of them were young kids, like children, that petitioned and protested Kellogg's because of the dyes and all the poisons they're putting in our food, in our cereal. And it's messed up because they actually make cereals for other countries but they actually run their stuff to code and make them healthy. But for America and the United States, they totally just poison us and with no remorse whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what is going on, bro. This is wild. It's on 5G. Software's up to date. Huh. I don't know. That is weird, bruh. What is it doing? It's like giving me fits. Hella. Oh. No, that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter. It should not matter. At all. That's so weird, guys. It's just totally just keeps rejecting my camera. I've never had this happen, ever. Ever had this happen, guys. I've never had this happen. It's never just went in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out on me. Ever. On God, it hasn't. This is just weird. It's really odd. It's really odd. Huh. I'm thinking about trying something here. Hold on. Bear with me, y'all. This is a pain in the butt. I'm sorry, dude. This sucks. I feel like there's something more going on here, to be honest, though. To be real with you. I feel like something intentional or something. I could be wrong. Could be dreaming. Here. Let's see if this works at all. Let's go back to the old school for a second. I always just liked using the iPhones because it was so cool and compatible with OBS. But sometimes you can't do what you gotta do, I guess. Let's see here. Okay, plugged in. I'm just gonna do something real quick. Hold up, guys. Trying something here. They probably don't want. I don't know. Let me see. This is weird. So, video capture. Sorry, guys. Hey, let's see if this works better. This is my Logitech. Yeah. Let's see if this works better. So far, no lag, y'all. That's weird. The beard's weird. High buffer. It's actually working a lot better. Hold up. That was an attack on our democracy. It's a little blurrier. Let's try this. Here we go. Clean it up a little bit. There we go. It's just really bright. Let's do this. Let's do this. Make it warm. That's a lot better. Not perfect. It's not the best looking, but that iPhone's just so crispy, you know. Let's see what 1920 does. 1920 looks a little better. Let's sharpen it a little bit. Pew. Almost done, fellas and ladies. Let's see. All right, we'll run this. This ain't bad. We'll run this. For sure. It works. I don't even know if I need buffering, really. Yeah, I can't believe my phone was tripping like that, y'all. It was cutting me off and everything. I don't know what the hell. I've never had that happen. Never had that happen, y'all. Never had that happen with my iPhones before. But you know what? What's cool about this this Logitech is it's not as like open. I mean, it could probably still get, you know, attacked through the computer but it's not quite as vulnerable, I guess, as my cell phone. Or somebody was just spam calling me and I didn't know it. I did have. That shouldn't have mattered. Not disturb. What was that? Okay. All right, y'all. We're running it. Let's go. I'm going to read right now. We're going to pick up where we left off. Thanks for sticking around through my painful processes, I guess. I'll probably go back to that Logitech, though. Just ain't quite as crispy. Real quick. Sorry, y'all. A little bit. You know what? That's probably gonna. This will probably help. Let's do that. Turn the lights on a little bit. My God, it's just so bright looking. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's that one. There. My face just looks so like fluorescented up. Just takes in a lot of light, I guess. Maybe try that. Studio light. Yeah, it's all right. Okay. All right. We're getting it. So we left off last time with him just talking about, you know, the spiritual war going on, us being influenced not the way we should be, and all that good stuff. All right. So we'll pick up on chapter 8. It's the Great Dome and the cell wall in the 178 worlds. All right. So I'm going to lean back here, kick it for a minute. Let's do this. All right. So it's, as I recommended or commented earlier, the Great Dome is the one that covers above all the known worlds. I mean known and not so known to many of us outside the first ice walls. This is the key to understand how these worlds could work. I also understand that it may overwhelm you in a direct way at first, as you are not even familiar with the land surrounding your continents. It would be more difficult for you to understand how all of what you know as planets can meet in a horizontal direction instead of a vertical, as drawn by the most prestigious scientists of your circle environment. It is difficult to deal with this idea, and believe me, I spent years studying how the first dome could work and what is projected on it. Directly speaking, what the heavens show every day. To be able to really interpret how one could navigate the skies going directly horizontally to the poles, or better said, to the Antarctic polar circle, which is that only physical barrier it has before the direct collision with this barrier dome, a priori invisible. The dome barrier functions simply as described, a division between Okay. The dome barrier functions simply as described, a division between one environment and the other, but as something known to you so far in your time, as is the cell in specific parts of its walls, there can be a direct connection that mixes or lets it pass in a certain way, something from environment A to environment B or vice versa. Some of this is a little confusing, y'all. It's in depth. In a basic way, we can compare the artificial ice walls as a cell wall which fulfills its function to act as a barrier that in this case, pathogens have to overcome to colonize that other environment or circle environment. But it is also a dynamic structure. And then we could compare the dome with a plasma membrane. So the firmament, or the dome, is similar to that of a plasma membrane. Okay? Now remember, when they did this drilling in Antarctica, and that guy came forward and they drilled into this wall of ice, seemingly ice, or they called it the sky ice, the blue ice. When they drilled into it, they got miles into that wall. But equipment started to break down, so they took a break, came back like less than a month later, and everything had closed up, and everything was closed within the wall. It had completely rehealed. We can call these channels portals. So there are places we can get through each other's firmaments or domes. All right? And those are obviously called portals. Or passages. And then it goes back to the Stargate thing, right? That help us to overcome these barriers that seem insurmountable and generally are made by water, except for exceptions by technology that can be done through the air, but the passages both from the interior to the exterior and vice versa are made by water, as they provide a high percentage of success. As we were saying, the domes are in the first instance as permeable membranes, but sometimes selective as in the celestial lands, meaning that the celestial lands are set up to where they are selective who they let in the first dome, in their dome. They can be selective, which is weird. So almost programmable, if you will. If a being is heightened enough technologically, they may be able to program these domes into who they do and don't let inside the dome, which is what the celestial lands are doing. They don't let anything but our souls, humanity's souls, through that dome. Although the domes are natural and are found from the information we were able to collect since the beginning of time, it is not ruled out that it was some creation prior to the beginning of the first colonizers, who were those who ventured out of their dome or membrane to explore other places. Like a baby born out of a womb, civilizations have left their domes to explore and exchange information in one way or another. Many of them still have not left by omission or ignorance. Perhaps one goes hand in hand with each other. In our lands, we humans have not left because of total manipulation of colonizing parasites. Otherwise, I believe that today, the same current civilization would be creating new ways to make way for what the extraterrestrial destiny has in store for it. To leave the dome, then, we could call it as the birth of a race. In a certain moment or generation, the beginning to interact with other neighboring beings that surround. The colonizers thought that the Great Dome would work in the same way and that it would also connect to other domes in other lives, and that going out to the outside, there would be another type of birth, but none of this worked, and all this remained as a big question mark. From there is also born the great doubt about what is found inside the celestial lands, as mysterious as selective. The hidden lands of the Book of Ninjma and Shaki. We also talked about Shaki last time. She's a very heightened, spiritually, Anakim giant, essentially. Alright? So there are several continents surrounding the first walls, just outside the continents unknown to the seventh generation, or the great majority. We are the seventh generation. And I say great majority because there is a small group of people close to secret organizations who are aware of this, as they have direct contact with some custodians and who have served faithfully against our own brothers. These continents can be found under various names, and believe me, I have vehemently read the thousands and thousands of books on maps and geography in general here in the great library of the capital called the Ark. Of books on maps and geography in general here in the great library of the capital called the Ark. And I have found the various lands that surround both yours and ours. And the names may be different and may be modified as they are studied, but I have more than one occasion asked my ancestral teachers, including Captain Butler, who has recommended me to one of the most complete and complex books of this beautiful culture, which could be called in the native language translation something like the Book of Ninjma. The people here are always willing to help in almost every task. You know what? Where is... Hold on here real quick. Just want to see here. Nope. For some reason I don't have this one. I'm surprised. Nope. I was going to let you guys follow along. Okay. But even more so, if what one seeks is knowledge, being a bit of an attraction from the beginning of being a survivor who has crossed over to the other side, that hostile place that today is looked at from afar, and having overcome a major battle here when the custodian attacked us upon arrival, I think I have earned a bit of respect from the citizens, and for that, they never even, or they never ever reneged on spending hours sitting next to me to translate text, or help me understand the millions of questions and confusions I had in my mind and still have, although a bit more dissipated. Now this is Captain Morris, just so you guys know, this dialect. Okay, this is Captain Morris. The book in question had very detailed maps, and compared with the Book of Shaki, it was known that the giants had to their credit several and several of kilometers traveled under the Great Dome, and were knowledgeable of both other worlds and other races, as they had been contacted and engaged in conversations with many of them. It is worth mentioning the different existing giant races, which are several, and not all of them are in favor of human liberation. Although they are reluctant to discuss or explain in depth about this subject, what has reached my ears is that no giant race would be against our liberation, but simply many of them would not be willing to try to help us because of the consequences that this could entail. For example, what happened during the sixth generation with the ancestors is reason enough not to set foot again on those lands that today are so far from my sight, but not so far from my heart, my lands of origin, that I have called Earth so many times before knowing this path. Following the Book of Ninjma and comparing it with the Book of Shaki, we can come to the conclusion that each race that lives in a land will name it in such a way that they can make themselves understood for their subsequent geographical location, tracking, and organization of the same. In turn, in their native language or communication they have, consequently, the root of the original name of a site is always lost, but rather begin to use others that are understandable and easy to locate based on the coordinates provided. There may also be some differences based on their actual location or shape as it was being done as technology and exploration were carried out, especially to the second walls and surrounding the hidden lands of Asgard. From here I will humbly give you the names as they were translated from these books, but you can find several different names for each race, and if we consider the native language of the ancestral lands, then it would be even more complex that the translation does not lose the essence of each one. Anyway, I will try. It should be noted that you will find also maps with different names within the known lands that will not have any relation with the names found in the Ancestral Library or that have been shared from here. So I just want you guys to know that if you're interested in buying these books, I have the links in my description. Okay? The links are all in my description. If you want to buy it digitally, just real quick, if you want to buy it digitally, you have to go through, for like Kindle, you have to go through your browser, not the Amazon app. You cannot buy digitally through the Amazon app. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But you got to go through the browser, then books, then you can buy digitally. But if you want to buy through the app, you got to buy the paperback. All right? But all the links are right there. So run it if you want to buy these books. And follow along. You know what I'm saying? That's what would be cool. I think it'd be cool to follow along if I was you all. Myself, I would want to follow along. Because I got, like I said, after this one, I got a couple digital. But y'all, I cannot wait to get into this one. This one is the Other Worlds. The detail of worlds and the theories beyond our dome. This one right here is going to be freaking epic. I'm so excited to read this one. Excuse me. Okay. Next chapter. The lands across the Antarctic polar circle. The lands where I'm stepping at this moment are so-called ancestral lands, or the lands of the ancestors. They can also be known as the Ancestral Republic. It's also been called throughout history the Iron Republic, or different names that sounded sometimes there in my lands of origin when infiltrating us with information. In the ancestral lands live mostly the humans of the sixth generation, survivors of the flood and the Great War fought there against the Anunnaki custodian power. Some of those survivors were able to regenerate their bodies in their entirety in order to reach the maximum possible lifespan between the first and second dome and lead a prosperous life continuing with other generations to come. In these lands also live a small percentage of giant humans, also survivors of the Great Tartary and giants of the south. Then a tiny portion is integrated by us, those who arrived during the new humanity. Some of the jokers here call us the sleepers, as a way to differentiate them from the previous ones, since in the new humanity for the moment, the vast majority do not know their essence and their environment. But as I said, it is just a joke because, as in all resets, humanity is born manipulated to not reach the information or make it covering as long as possible. Possibly if there were survivors of past resets here, they would call the next generation in the same way. In this new humanity full of confusion and despair, it seems to be simple to rewrite history and lead many down the path of spiritual self-destruction. Once the majority does it, then it will only be time for others to imitate. Today, when the media is so controlled, the interference is greater. The interference it will do in the minds will be to such a degree as when one runs in terror before something or someone that gives us the feeling of imminent attack. It is not the same as a state of alertness in mere silence than one being in a critical situation with danger of being attacked. You will get two totally different and opposite paths. This is crazy. Check this out. The ancestors here are 81. Okay. It's not as many as I thought. The ancestors here are 81 million people at the moment I am writing this. So this would have been quite a while ago. They should be significantly higher than that. The ancestors here are 81 million people at the moment I'm writing this that live throughout all these lands. Although people do not crowd in the capital for work or to obtain another type of benefit as it happens in our lands. Like any great city anyway, it gathers a great number of people within the same number indicated. There are some humans living in the ancient lands of Anak and in the lands of Shaki. There are no records that there is another group of humans, at least settled in other lands between the first and second dome, that have at least sent signals or established some communication with these lands. Crossing the second dome and second ice wall, and without any other ancestral masters or Shaki having confirmed it to me, it's said that there are humans in the lands of Venus, and that there is a great connection and relationship with the Venusians. In fact, when the parasites tried to colonize them, they were able to expel them by reaching an agreement. And within that agreement, one of the strong points was nothing more and nothing less than the discussion about human liberation. Of course, it was not achieved. There are confirmed humans in the land of Mars from the known continents. Many of them were sent there as a prize for having betrayed their own brothers. Then this colony settled there along with other races. Some of the following generations have left these lands in search of another type of life, commenting that the life that takes place in Mars is totally conflictive and harmful in all its dimensions. A ship from there has arrived to our coast, as well as ancestral ones have infiltrated there by the Bird Strait. The lands of Asgard and the Dietlov Pass. The Dietlov Passage has its own memories, several remembered episodes. So the Dietlov Pass has in its memories several remembered episodes, and all of them were regrettable, leaving only sad memories of the experiences. Reaching the gates of Asgard is not an easy task for almost any being, much less for humans. Even worse, if they are humans with basic technology that simply out of curiosity try it, they're doomed. In the ancestral knowledge, it is known that there are several artificial portals created by the Anunnaki mostly. That's what they do. Although the custodians have also manipulated and used such technology for the transfer of matter. Many of the portals were left in disuse and forgotten in different points of the many lands. The known continents are not the exception to this rule, and one of these portals is located in old settlements of the Great Tartary, near the known Ural Mountains. Several explorers tried to reach it and to use it to lead them directly to the gates of Asgard, almost always led by a person or leader who had come to the knowledge in some way or another, either by chance or some kind of information he could surely get from manipulative sources coming from higher up. For this reason, most of these expeditions failed and ended in a very bad way. One is well known in the use of this portal. They have a powerful scanner, and this enables any custodian or force that is operating in the area to proceed even violently to prevent this from taking place. However, they are very unstable portals that were not stopped using for the transfer of material for their mistakes. Generally, they are very old portals, but why were they not destroyed? That is the question I asked myself. The answer had several possibilities. They are not interested because the use of such a portal would lead to certain death. There is permanent custody in conjunction with high-tech scanners. They are a trap for curious humans. It is another form of custodian Anunnaki entertainment with humans. Perhaps this option could be in conjunction with all the others above. They're cruel. In fact, it is known that many of these leaders of direct explorations to hidden portals are often driven by the same custodians who play with this human scouting group until they get there. Even letting them across the portal without really knowing what will happen to the matter they will end up moving. It is something extremely risky, but that the custodians or other races sometimes, with the desire to acquire energy from their fears or terror that they end up instilling, do not worry at all, but rather, on the contrary, they end up taking advantage of it. Be that as it may, these portals can still be found and are very dangerous. The doors of Asgard are not easily accessible and are hidden lands, so much so that they were used and thought to be settled by the first humans, knowing that they could be discovered but sought the best option to develop. The other lands they used are Lemuria to the east and Atlantis to the north. Lemuria and Atlantis. Asgard had direct connection through a portal with the lands called Hyperborea, which are located in the center of the known continents by the Black Rock. In Asgard, it is believed that there are still fortifications of the first humans and masters that gave rise to the Great Birth. But its access is complex, as well as trying to pass through the passage Bifrost. The Bifrost, right? Thor? That leads to Atlantis and its neighboring land, Shastar. The lands of Lemuria are today inhabited by a strange race of little development that was transferred from outside and that had throughout history very little contact with humans or giants. There was found a long time ago very strange subway technology and of still unknown origin. Interesting. Laurentia, on the other hand, is a land inhabited by Venusians. They are in this way the closest to our lands. It is believed that they send information to their lands of origin and the leaders so that they are aware of all the movements and modifications that the colonizers make. It is expected that they can also come to help human liberation in the near future. Aquarius and the lands of Hyksos are inhabited by hostile creatures in conjunction with the lands of Sirens. There are several stories of humans who collided with these creatures that I will share in the next chapter. In both the Island of Death and the Lands of Death, there is no life, not even plant life, although it served as a passage for several races before penetrating the known lands. Today, we're simply abandoned. They are totally deserted places in contrast to their past. In the lands of Scorpio, there are 3 different types of giant races, including the Anakim. In the southernmost lands, like Argos and Athos, there were Anunnaki settlements, but today there is no confirmation of this. Curiously, it is dangerous to navigate in that area near the Bird Passage, and for that reason, among others, it is complex to visit those distant lands outside the Second Dome. In Telos, lands near the Bridge of Hades, there is great darkness. The creatures that inhabit it are inferior of first generation without development, also transferred by the colonizing races. In Avalon and Onyx coexist two different races coming from outside, Etamines from the Draco and Greys from the Orion. Chapter 12, The Humans Who Arrived to the Mermaid Lands. History and Geomorphology of Adjacent Lands, ARB, Heimdall Bridge, Book of the Great. Hold on, by the year 1900. I did a video on that. Yeah, I'm going to skip that story. I'm going to skip that story. It's not that interesting. The stars and planets in the heavens, the absolute zero line crossing the Antarctic. This is another sensitive and not at all minor issue about how our environment works. The same conditioning can be activated as one tries to interpret the functioning and projection of the domes, the planets, the stars, and the many worlds that seem to be far away from us up there. As Byrd and many other navigators who have been able to cross the passage leading into the interior lands of Mars or misnamed Red Planet have commented, the thrust is similar, and it is important to remember this phrase once again. As we navigate or traverse the very heavens, this could give us a closer explanation to what we understand as space or universe, that in the science books of the known lands or Earth lead the new humanity to learn about reaching distant planets and stars as something extremely far away or even improbable by technology and studies, when in reality we can connect those planets or lands directly crossing these domes in a horizontal way as directly crossing Antarctica or the Antarctic Circle. Nowadays, this is not possible for human civilizations for several reasons. Some of them we have already mentioned, as the security guardianship, with bases along the same circle, radars around the so-called South Pole, as well as the great distances of frozen oceans, huge walls, and extensive regions of low temperatures without possessing adequate technology, and the location of the passages already previously open to find adequately and without errors the passage or portal to transfer matter from the interior to the exterior or vice versa. Even with the right technology, sometimes, as we will see later, mistakes are made that can end tragically. Since the custodian technology advances and is updated frequently, for this reason, only some beings are able to cross the domes, portals, and even those ice walls that the custodians have left, so that this impediment is increased to a maximum level. But if all this were not already complex by itself, we also add what we know as a strip or a line of absolute zero, that is just before the Great Dome, or the First Dome, where events are experienced that we could consider strange or out of the ordinary. Many space agencies and military of the new humanity study these areas periodically for many years. Even many military have come to these areas to experience these phenomena. Byrd has also done so after his Antarctic expedition of 1934, in his experiment to spend months studying this famous line of absolute zero. This strange line, in addition to experiencing physical changes, some people have visions of Polaris, auroras, that plunge them into the most absolute depth, losing track of time and their surroundings. Visits from different times, coded messages that have reached them, images of deceased people that can appear before one, and a myriad of phenomena studied in depth, previously by the Anakim ancestral, and now a part of the new humanity with custodian complicity, make of all this phenomenon a place as recondite as strange. And as it could not be missing, the custodians used this site to locate several humans and other beings to proceed to the study of war, conflicts, and psychological experimentation in these lands of absolute zero. Then you will find testimonies on this subject in later chapters. Weird. I'm not picking up on that. But it's like it messes with your mind. It is very possible that this study is also related to the attempt to understand the connection of the source that humans and the celestial lands, terra incognita, have, since the entrance to those lands has always been the obsession of these beings, custodians and Anunnaki, since they first encountered them a long time ago. That's like their obsession. They just want to get in them lands so bad. The connection of the frozen waters and the celestial lands we call the universe. As the title itself indicates, the frozen waters can lead to another uncertain destination of those celestial lands that we call the universe. It is difficult to understand the celestial connection between the existing domes and the stars or planets that surround us. When we advance horizontally through the portals, we are connecting our matter and transport in a natural way towards the beyond. The absolute zero line is nothing more than a way of adapting our physical body and our conditioned mind to the possibility that these phenomena can be experienced. Sometimes many of these phenomena are presented to us, and very possibly after a strong shock, as well as other times they simply happen when we least expect them. We try to find them in our minds that are based on memories and therefore on past experiences some kind of logic that can make us feel that we are not going crazy. But many times it happens that along the time we forget even our own minds send us messages that none of that really happened until we forget that event in a graduated way in order to continue with our daily robotic lives based on simple biological functions and competition among the same beings that this new humanity seemed to lead in a frenetic way. Forgive me. I feel like they're talking about like deja vu or something. Like once in a while, we get coded messages that we kind of just write off. But we try to reconcile within our own heads that it's just a phenomena that we don't understand, but there's maybe more to it. He said after getting a shock or trauma. Interesting. It's confusing a little bit. This book is in depth, y'all. So during the transit across the absolute line of zero, we can experience the most sinister terrors, as well as the most angelic songs that we have never heard before. The voices or images of those friends or relatives who are no longer with us, or the inner demons that will visit us before crashing into the first dome. A shock of absolute reality towards the logic that we try to manage, a direct blow to the part of our mind that tries to control and pigeonhole everything. As if in a form of preparation for what is to come next, our mind must first walk through the inner hells before peering beyond our lands. So they're basically saying that if you happen to be lucky enough to travel through the first dome, you're going to see some crazy shit. And it's a wild experience, almost like peyote-esque or something, or like, I don't know, like mushrooms, or it's something along that line. Like if you pass through the dome, when it happens, it can be either angelic or inner demonic, dark. Interesting. So that's what they're talking about. The absolute zero line is like goes around the dome, and that's where you got to travel through it to get through it in certain areas. But when you do, it warps your brain a little bit. Interesting. Probably to warp our minds a little bit. Yeah, like to prepare us for what's to come next. You'll be surprised it's not what you thought. It is possible that this change is hardly noticeable if you have previously been able to break those chains that bound you to your past. How then could we understand that the stars seen in the heavens are a mere specter of what we find around us through portals and passages? The passages or portals that go through the domes always connect one another with one. The passages or portals that go through the domes always connect with another reality, another time, and another totally different atmosphere, both going and returning. When leaving a manipulated atmosphere, as in the known lands, the shock is even stronger. Connecting with these hidden lands behind are simply a reception several times cataloged as sacred, since in there you have a life with many unfounded fears and projected in your own mind of the new humanity by the same conquering parasites that are above you, or better said, were placed there. If you break this reality by going through a portal, you would be leaving the life you know totally behind. This does not mean that you will forget your past or your experience in the known continents. I assure you, simply because I have not forgotten mine. But it will change your way of thinking, not only by understanding a little better about how the plane you live in transit works, but that the circle environment of your lands is submerged in negative energy and fears that infuse as part of their great food slash pleasure, the parasites. Then you will understand that the heavens are mere projections of a simulation, that humanity lives daily, even today, within those lands that you inhabit, and that I have been inhabited like so many other ancestors. The manipulation that you live daily is simply sinister, and it is something that we must break forever. Not only those of us who are out here trying to help you, but yourselves. It is complex, but not impossible when you can see what surrounds you, not only with your eyes from a physical perception, but when all your energy accumulates towards the same direction, in the mere silence, when there is nothing limiting and your connection is direct, you will be able to connect with other lands even without leaving the first dome, in a physical way. The celestial lands are also within you as the source, and the potential of your infinite spiritual growth that no other race here within the Great Dome possesses. So basically, what he's saying in this fictional tale is if we could all find a place together silently as one at the same time, like a mass meditation. It'd be like a mass meditation, y'all. If we could do that, we could harness the celestial lands light or soul light, and we could project it and direct it, and we could actually physically contact any being in our Great Dome. Huh. This needs to be a movie. It'd be a crazy movie. Where you at, Hollywood? In time, millions of reports, archives, and texts were added that arrived from various parts of the known lands during and after the Great War that the giant humans knew how to obtain from many custodian bases, until the time came to interrelate each point in each story that we received. In this way, we could reach many conclusions and knowledge that we did not have until then in the ancestral lands. We were able to identify many races and circle environments that would have been impossible for us to elucidate by the mere fortuitous fact of how far our expedition technology reached. Clearly, we realized that our technology was not enough to make a great journey for the moment. Besides, first we had to investigate how much real distance existed and how many other races could receive us in one way or another. The images of our heroes still shine among the great books. Captain Roald, for example, who exposed himself to danger to obtain information from the land of Mars, crossing a passage little known at the time and giving his life so that his companions could get out of there and tell of his exploits. Many others sacrificed themselves so that our history and knowledge would continue to advance, and thus also, in addition to understanding these worlds around us, also reach the point of technology where we could go further advancing and be able to help the humans of our lands of origin. The point of being able to cut the resets forever was undoubtedly one of the biggest reasons to be able to acquire more and more knowledge of our surroundings. They were very complex missions, and for this reason it was not very common to send men for the expedition crossing the second ice walls. Our knowledge was acquired in dribs and drabs. It was very slow, and we needed to somehow understand much more about our environment inside the Great Dome. But without expecting it, one day our luck would change forever. This story has no waste, and can also deliver several answers as it also converges somehow with all the information that we are delivering gradually. One morning I woke very early to strange murmurs coming from outside my home, near what we might call the main port of embarkation. My father, William, and Butler were also outside among the crowd, shouting in excitement at something approaching us. It was a clear morning, so there was great visibility, and about 500 meters from the coast, a coded ship was approaching. Some advanced technology in some worlds allows to hide the real shape of the object and change it to a generic one or to one that resembles the culture where it is approaching. But until then, we did not know it. Cloaking. And it can mimic. Interesting. We saw it in the black color, without any distinction coming towards us at a great speed. I did not even have time to worry that it might attack us because William and Captain Butler were together with naval personnel very calmly waiting for this mysterious arrival. This ship suddenly changed and adopted a very curious shape and even moved towards the inner part of the coast. Our naval force was attentive, but the silhouette showed a being waving toward our position without seeming to have any intention to attack. It was several seconds, but I think that inside me it lasted much longer than that. The tension when an unknown ship approached was always extreme as we had gone through several bad experiences in the near past. It was difficult to distinguish what kind of being was visiting us. It should be clarified that we had received several beings from different parts of our plane, but this being did not match anything we had seen before. He came out with a smile, waving from afar. The first thing he mentioned in a strange accent, native to our ancestral lands, was that his visit was going to be very brief, and that he was passing through to other lands. As soon as he spoke with my father and Butler, who accompanied him to the main building of the naval force, to ask him some questions about his real purpose there, following that protocol, it was not a time to trust anyone, much less a being that we did not really know where he came. We feared he would be sent by the parasitic custodian or Anunnaki races to really get some kind of information about our technology, members of our citizens, military, or other kind of information. The being passed among the hundreds of people that we crowded there, trying to get as close as possible to see both this strange vessel that practically ran aground on our shores, and also this mysterious character of a bluish tone that was visiting us. His clothes were totally white, like ancient tunics that fell on his slender body. He was barefoot. His skull was disproportionately large, and his huge eyes had a yellowish hue. He always kept a very strange smile since he descended from his big ship. He even looked from one side to the other as if he was grateful for the hospitality. I cannot lie that he emanated vibes of great peace and confidence. I wanted to go after my father, but William, trying to protect me, was reluctant to let me approach this new visitor. Therefore, he strongly requested me to return home until I could talk to the visitor and be able to understand what he was doing here. Butler followed at his side at all times and never lost track of him. He was followed by several important members of the forces, as I said earlier. It was a day that would quite change the way I understood the plane we lived on. I could never fight against my meddling ways. For that reason, and since my father had not let me get close to this person, I slipped inside the big ship, as I was not sure I would ever have a similar opportunity. This peculiar ship did not resemble anything we ancestors had, nor anything I had been told about other worlds. We all claim that it has changed shape between coming ashore until finally ended up in the very sand. Interesting. The beings of Cassiopeia. As soon as I set foot on this strange boat, not to say the strangest that any human has ever seen, I realized for an instant that inside it was totally different. It seemed as if inside this ship was much bigger even than what it showed out on the outside. But that thought fleetingly passed through my mind and evaporated from one moment to another when I found three beings in front of me. Similar to the first one that had gone down with my father and Butler, they were staring at me. Terror invaded my body and I was completely paralyzed. They noticed it, and quickly one of them advanced 2 steps toward my position and stretched his arm out, trying to somehow reassure me. Or so I suppose. Although by then I was terrified, I felt inside me that they did not want to do me any harm. I think I trusted more than I really should have. I always had these episodes that I called ancestral new humanity dichotomy, the part of my mother and my father, two generations that had merged and were now in me in some way. While this cloud well, this could have cloud. While this could have really gone wrong, and I might not be telling this whole story now, the truth is that the beings tried to calm me down and began among themselves to emit strange sounds, while from their bodies emanated a bluish white light. I did not fully understand what they were performing, but it was a kind of communication between them, staring into each other's eyes. This would be another strange occurrence, but I was going to start getting used to all these experiences about the civilizations that inhabited under this great dome. One of them had a gray colored cube, but then it would turn a pure reddish color, and from this same object a kind of pale light would come out towards the wall and project an image. This projection on the wall showed without stopping one image after another of their circle environment, their citizens, the way they lived, even the same dome that enclosed their lands of origin, and to my surprise an image of what I interpreted would be of the confines of this great dome. Between total astonishment and some frustration at not being able to initiate a conversation with these beings, I made signs to them so that we could leave the boat, to which they refused. I then assumed that they would not leave until their alleged leader, who was meeting with my father and Butler, did not show up there to give some kind of indication or order. While I didn't feel any kind of hostility or warning of danger in there, the reality was that I didn't feel comfortable either, and even less so without being able to communicate with them, other than with some signs where I felt like an infant trying to talk to parents. I proceeded to make signs of greeting and slowly retreating up a type of staircase that seemed holographic but firm enough to reach the deck. When I set foot again on the shore and looked back again, the boat had a different hue, more reddish, and it was not the product of our known red sun, however, the shape remained. Many citizens had seen me enter and approached me to ask what was inside. I wanted to avoid any answer by making gestures of not having seen anything, because if I commented that there were more beings, many others would questions would not take long to arrive, and it would be a long interrogation. There might even be some other curious person who would want to get inside. My father was approaching in the distance with the new visitor, and Butler and two Marines followed him behind. They escorted him to the ship, and I did not lose sight of them all the way, keeping every detail. The being returned to the interior of the ship, and now it was my turn to run to my father, and although he was not happy about it, tell him about the beings I seen in there. William was holding in his right hand the transcript of the whole conversation with the being. Since every important event inside the big building is automatically transcribed, stored in memories and copied are generated, so that every answer can be analyzed in detail. My father was then very busy with other Marines and chiefs of the different areas. Therefore, I turned to Butler, who, with his distinguished kindness, listened to my every word. Butler opened his eyes at every word of my story, as he knew he had risked too much. But he was glad that I had been able to give him another piece of knowledge about these beings. Then he told me that all this was somewhat similar to the conversation that same being had given. And after my insistence, he promised to give me a memory to read the transcript of the visitor who called himself it's like Hiurenk. Hurenk? Huirenk? I'm going to call him Hurenk. Or just Rank. And also, like the rest of the team that came on the boat, they claimed to be from a place called Cassiopeia. Everyone in the ancestral lands already knew my father well enough to know perfectly well that this welcome visit was excellent for our central plan of liberation of humanity, both the knowledge that these beings brought and their technology, especially the latter. And so my father would then try to make it all fit somehow into one of the plans they had created to return to the known lands. In fact, I would later learn that he had not been able to resist too much, and had proposed it to him in the first conversation in the great building. My father understood that time was getting tighter and tighter. The transcript did not come to me from my dear father, but from Butler, who had given me a copy of the hidden encoded memory. My father was trying to keep me away from all this conflict, but the reality was that we were all part of this long and arduous journey, and of course I would be no exception. Butler was confident, but from expressions on his face, I knew it wasn't going to be easy to convince the new visitors to hand over valuable information about their technology. After all, we weren't sure they were aware of our origins, and the visit seemed to be more casual than for some kind of mission or knowledge about us. The night came abruptly before so much convulsion caused among the citizens. The news was not long in coming and spread all the information that strange beings had stopped on our shores. I noticed that my father had a great illusion for this new opportunity. You could see it clearly reflected in his face. I could never see him like that again, and that filled me with hope at that time. I understood that inside him was the hope that Rank would help to enter in a safe way the home that everyone had had to abandon, and somehow he dreamed that one of the many plans created would work for the human liberation inside the ice walls and the first dome. They were not so wrong based on the technology that these beings had reached and knew how to manipulate. In fact, I had seen it with my own eyes. The interior of the ship looked like something out of the best fiction books that my father talked about so much in our known lands. Added to their type of communication and the resounding change in the form that their ship could take, could be of great help in this way to slip away without any kind of mistake before the custodian eyes. Fael, well, it's a pleasure to greet you again. I introduce myself. I am Fael, the president of these lands. On my right is our Commander-in-Chief, Naval William Morris, together with Captain Butler. Visitor, this is Rank. My respectful greetings. I am sorry for my accent. I will try to communicate as best as possible with you. Please understand that my communication is visual telepathic between our race, but we adapt well to the environment, and since this does not work with your race, I will put all my effort in your type of communication. Do not worry, again, receiving you is a pleasant surprise like most of every visit we have received here. We would like to know the reason for this, and that you could give us more information about it, since we are quite worried about what is happening in nearby lands, and all our lands are on alert. Where do you come from? Harank. I am sorry for what is happening, sir. My name is Harank. Our origin is distant lands called Cassiopeia, or ARB 032. We arrived to these lands sailing latitudes surrounding, and somehow we have collided with your membrane dome. Some time ago we decided to avoid it until we met an extension in the south direction. Without remedy regarding our energy used by the vessel transporting us, having to penetrate the south membrane dome of Mars Earth, avoiding known Earths for the time being, until we can better understand the functioning of the circle environment in depth. Besides that, the detection of our technology of what dwells there. Sir, many points here are of interest to us. You comment that you have been able to penetrate the ARB 204 dome. Has this required any difficulty based on your technology? That was the Mars Earth dome. Harank, I am sorry I do not fully understand your question, but we have passed through that membrane without difficulty since it is at a level 2 with respect to our scale of 7. Therefore, I mean, we have passed through that barrier, and then we have encountered V stem cells, beings like you, but with different type of DNA, marking as a junction to the type of origin detected. Harank, have you been able to enter various circle environments? That is correct, sir. How many of them have you been able to visit? To be honest, in our history, not as many as other known races, but we have been able to go through enough of them to understand how many of them work, and many other beings make up this great dome. How many circle environments do you consider to exist? We have the information that there are 178 up to the giant dividing walls, but as I was telling you, we cannot confirm that since we have not been to each one. Anyway, we have information on most of them that I will have no problem to give you to add to your files. Excuse me, how has your experience been at ARB 204? One of the strangest. We have encountered various types of cells in there, and the control they have there is hostile. As well as among the beings themselves, we have seen situations of which we do not agree and do not accept in our civilization. We have also found experiments in laboratories under the surface, some abandoned and others currently in operation. As I was saying, some are of the same species of origin. There is a group called Human Colony, and within that strange circle environment there are beings that value life above all others, but they are under constant attack. They have asked for our help, and we have been able to free a contingent. but we have not wanted to participate actively since we try to stay away from the control in each membrane dome. Excuse me, Harank, have you made contact with any of the races in control there? Rather, who are in control, and what kind of relationship do you have? We are against any type of control over any other being under any other dome, sir. We cannot confirm the race in control of ARB 204, as there are several types in there. What we can intuit is that it could be undergoing some type of control experiment, or other type that we are unaware of. No doubt it is an altered membrane for the development of races of another origin. Have you been able to enter ARB 201, the known lands? Negative, sir. For asking again, but your visit to these lands has not been clear. What is the purpose of your trip? We have left our lands of origin relatively recently, depending on the comparison in each time limit, within the respective domes, and are exploring lands for the knowledge and progress of our environment. Were you under the control of some kind of species? We have been under hostile rule of the custodians for a long time. Clearly, we had no possibility of growth or development of any kind. Our race was just beginning to develop spiritually when we were colonized. Many of our race have penetrated outside of our environment for fear that they would return. But the reality is that the custodians left our lands long ago, and we believe that they will not return. We also take this reason very important to be able to contact other races and to be able to deliver our small part of history. If that can help in some way, although as I commented following our nature, we cannot enter actively in any conflict of another species. Perfect, Mr. Harank. For the moment, I have no more questions to ask. From my position, know that you and your group are more than welcome to our lands, the ancestral lands, and we will try to give you what you need to feel comfortable. And you can leave whenever you want on your journey. Morris, I would like to be able to talk to you later about something very important. With Butler, we believe that you could help us in our long fight against the custodians. Since you somehow were able to get rid of the colonization in your homelands, as you may know, are still in a battle that seems eternal. Yes, I am very sorry for what happened in ARB 201. It is known by many species around about your history. If in anything, we can help, know that you can count on us. But we do not want to be involved in a direct conflict, as that can endanger again my brothers in the lands we have left transitorily behind. Morris, I understand. Do not worry. Thank you very much for your time, and I will be visiting you tomorrow morning so I can give you details, and you can provide me with more information we need. Perfect. I am here to help. Grateful for your hospitality. So these beings from Cassiopeia show up. They had previously been overran by the custodians, and they had been freed. Basically, the custodians left and are not coming back, but they're basically passing on the ability to penetrate almost virtually any dome. And that's huge because the ancestors had not had technology like this up to this point. You know what I'm saying? Very interesting. Sorry, my throat's scratchy, y'all. I think it's been a little cold lately. Been a little cold outside. So, how long have we been going here? Getting a little late, but I'll finish it out till... Yeah, I'll finish the rest of the new technology. The night my father would arrive again to the coast to meet the big boat that now had an opaque color and reflected the same sea that was hitting hard against it. With the help of Butler, we told him about my contact with those beings in there. We were able to convince him that I also could be a part of this new contact. I understood later that my father also wanted me to witness such a conversation, as it was not going to be a regular one, but could mark a before and after in our development of the plan to free the new humanity. We entered without problems, going up to the deck and then descending by that holographic staircase that deposited us into a huge room. The dimensions did not make sense and seemed to be much larger inside than what we perceived from the out. Harank approached us. He was alone and offered us something to drink, a drink of the strangest I would ever go to taste, then commented that it was a fruit characteristic of his lands. It really did not taste bad, but I was not used to it, so I only tried a sip and left it there on the desk. I did not trust these beings much either. After all, they were still a strange visitor. The drink kept its temperature from start to finish of the visit, and this lasted for hours. The container was a dark, gelatinous cube that was very cold to the touch. My father and Butler told him about the critical situation inside ARB 201, and while they did not give any details of the plan, they needed to know more about both the enemy or enemies we were facing and also about the penetration of membrane domes, as the latter was the most complex and where the Anakim giants did not want to be an active part at the moment either. We thought that if an outside race provided us with the necessary information to be able to enter undetected, we could also encourage the Anakim giants to join us in a mass release of new humans in our lands and surrounding lands. This sounded far-fetched and unlikely, but hope was not lost, much less in my father, who had the illusion intact that these beings had arrived at the right time to somehow help us enter. Harank was honest with Morris and Butler and told them that this could not be carried out as planned, but that they would give him information about technology to open a portal passageway that could be at the moment above any kind of radar or custodian technology, that they had certainly done it on Mars, Earth, and that they had not had any issues. My father was jumping with excitement. So basically they could develop a portal that would go undetected from custodian or enemy radar. My father was jumping with excitement, and I swear that if Harank did not show seriousness, as he seemed to be a being that would not show any kind of feeling towards us, my father would have given him the tightest hug at the instant. They agreed that they would travel near the first dome, Icewalls, in a few days, while they prepared their plan, while Harank confirmed that he had the necessary technology to open a portal without being detected. But there was a primordial condition. Harank commented that opening a portal would bring information to the new humanity about the spiritual development, and that was the only way to be able to free themselves from the custodian/Anunnaki control, manipulation, and yoke. Harank commented that opening the portal would bring information to the new humanity about the spiritual development, and that was the only way to be able to free themselves from the custodian and Anunnaki control, manipulation, and yoke. There was no possibility of winning any war against them at this time with the technology they carried. Maybe some battle, but never a war inside a totally manipulated and controlled dome environment. In fact, the humans themselves could turn against them with just some kind of manipulation of the means they used there. They agreed then that several ancestral masters would enter to provide information on spiritual liberation and development. The beings of Cassiopeia knew well that humans had infinite spiritual potential, and that they were the key to the celestial lands. They were well aware that the custodians were not going to leave the ARB 201 colony easily, as they had done in other circle environments. Harank was also clear and concise about something. They would not enter into any conflict or help in any direct way. They would only open a portal with the guideline that information about human spiritual development would be entered. So it was that, during this silent war between the ancestors and custodians, the first operational portal dome breaker was carried out, which consisted in melting ice, always taking into account statistics in order to not generate any climactic disaster. For a long time, several ancestors departed from our ports to the known lands, or ancient lands, through this passage between fearsome giant icebergs, waves, and especially in front of the custodian bewilderment, which, when they discovered it, already had several thousands of our masters publishing, teaching, and prioritizing unconditional love and empathy as a way of life. I must admit here that several people of the new humanity were rescued and left for our lands. But this happened in a small stage and with a small group. The scientific conditioning almost collided abruptly by the time they realized what was happening in that remote area of the Pacific Ocean. Some 2,000 ancestors were already scattered throughout the known lands, delivering all information, some successfully and others not so much, about the infinite spiritual growth, questioning the scientific minds, what seemed unquestionable until that moment, that many secret organizations with direct custodian connection and manipulation are made known, and as if they were not enough. If that were not enough, some human vessels arrived in the area by chance, and not so by chance, and left with great astonishment, although only one of them dared to cross that dreaded passage, which was a death trap since it was not easily navigable, but would have to have great technology to cross it. But with a little luck, cunning, and wind in the favor, the impossible was forgotten when a group of 5 humans managed to cross it. It should be noted that this unfortunately was possible only in a short stage of weeks. When the custodians could notice that there was an ancestral hand in these teachings, they tried to corrupt them, and they were easily annihilated. The spiritual path was manipulated in such a way that it was taken to dirty business, added to other repudiated subjects, that together with the great media made the great tower built on pure teachings was completely demolished in only a few weeks. Many masters were locked up and accused of different crimes, making known to all humanity the aberrant hidden causes they had, and somehow they began to unite these noble causes with perversion, business, and several other things that added to obscure the true purpose. Some of them even ended up in psychiatric centers at the mercy of controversial behavioral treatments, in conjunction with experiments of all kinds that they carried out since then. Others were taken to prisons with the worst conditions, and others were killed outright. The custodians again went into a rage against their old enemies, the ancestral ones and the Anakim. For their most precious lands, they feared again an attack from us. In fact, when they found the passage we had opened, with the help of the beings of Cassiopeia, they exploded and decided to attack our lands several times. But they would do it in the most perverse way that they know how to do very well. Then they granted very advanced technology for the time to the humans themselves. In that way, the armed forces of the new humanity would attack several places before the first dome, but they would fail resoundingly. The Operation High Jump, of which we have already spoken previously, was the scene that they expected to generate some fear in the Antarctic zone, and to be able to militarize the zone. In this way, they would also infiltrate custodian beings in some of the Antarctic bases, and throughout the Antarctic Circle to surround and undermine the zone with earthquake-generating radars. This type of technology generates earthquakes of great magnitude as soon as it receives an alert of infiltration of ancestral human DNA, or some type of matter that they themselves previously added. This happened for a long time and continues to happen today. Clearly, this was not going to stop my father, Morris, and Butler to continue on their way to achieve the liberation of the new humanity, and they would look for other ways, and no doubt they would dare to infiltrate again in the lands of origin. Harank had given them some information to penetrate the membrane by air, but it was very risky, although, as I said, the greater was their illusion to liberate them. Harank, before leaving again to Cassiopeia lands, or at least that was what he told us, gave us several memories to file in our ancestral library about other worlds that they had been able to know and others that they had not entered or perhaps not even navigated closely, but that they had acquired for several other races and from books as old as the beginning of life itself. We in the ancestral lands compiled all this information, and after extensive and arduous work of managing, comparing, and gathering all the works, reports, and texts, we have come to the conclusion that these are all the worlds, circle environments that lie beneath the Great Dome, or within the vast and enormous walls that contain and divide the dome from the unknown. Crazy stuff, y'all. Crazy stuff. So, oh, the chat's dead. How long? Am I even live? All right. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. Okay, good. Would that read you guys to sleep? Good. That's cool. So they do have a soul. Okay? They have a soul, but the difference between us and them is our soul contains allegedly celestial light, like godly light. Yep. Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so I'm going to continue. I'm continuing this for sure. But what I was thinking is wild because I'm thinking about how he said at the end how they opened the portal, right? They opened the portal and like 2,000 beings came into the portal and started to spread the message of like love and light and build a foundation of empathy and build a foundation of spiritual growth. And I can't help but want to think back like from the Revolutionary War till now. Well, so it said that they ended it when the custodians found the portal. It was right around Operation High Jump. And they were going to use humanity in Operation High Jump to establish a base in Antarctica and custodians push to the Antarctic bases. So that was right around the point where they basically found out and shut down the ancestors that infiltrated the 2000. So I'm thinking about how they said they built this foundation of love and light and empathy and all that. And then, of course, it was just stripped right out from under them. And it toppled because the custodians found out. So I'm trying to think of when that could be. Like in what beings could have established what. Because you had the Revolutionary War, and then you had, according to our history, 1700s. And then we started kind of doing then we ended up, okay. I guess the timeline's weird because they say the reset happened like 1700. So then the natives, the 13 colonies, then we pushed to the natives. Correct? God, I'd have to look at that. But anyway, I just wonder what timeline, and I wonder often the times I sit here and I think, who now could still be here from those times or have generations of being of family members, like which ancestors snuck through and didn't get executed, didn't get imprisoned, and maybe passed a legacy down of the truth to their generation after generation after generation. Like, and I'm not trying to be political or anything like that, because I don't, I'm not going to be political, but I can't help but look at like certain figures and their height and just think, could their lineage have been some of the early ancestors of the 2000 that infiltrated here? You know what I mean? Not that they're all good or anything, but just, and then money always corrupts, but like, even as far as like NBA players and stuff, you have to wonder, athletes, just public figures. Are there any good ones? I mean, is there anybody that stands out in your mind that could still have been from the ancestral yoke? It's wild to think about. And like, have they just erased it all from history as far as any foundation being built of empathy and love and light? And, you know, I don't know. I think that there are people, I truly believe that there are people out there who are naturally empaths. And I think that has to become from the ancestral republic, the ancestral genealogy. Because there's certain people out there that are just true empaths. Like, it's just in them, it's ingrained who they are, it's ingrained in their DNA that they are just naturally more love and light than others, you know, or and it's like through and through. It's like stuck in their foundation that they cannot get rid of it. It's almost in our society anyway, a burden to bear because they just cannot stop being empaths. And in our society, we've been manipulated and just formed to be jealous, envious, spiteful, greedy, all the above. And there's still people that naturally just go against the grain. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm not saying that like I'm one way or the other. There's always going to be, the Democrats, the Republicans. I'm not going to say who's right, who's wrong. I don't care. I'm just like looking at figures and just thinking, like his son, bro, he's a freaking giant. It's like, you just got to wonder sometimes if they slip through the cracks. I don't know. And I'm not saying he's all great, he's all good, because he's not. I've seen his history and I've seen what he done, and I get it. But sometimes I wonder, does he have the best interest? Does he not? Is it all just a manipulation? Because they say it is. They say that it's already foresaw and forechosen before the election even happens. They already know what's going to happen. You wonder that. Is it true? Is it not? I don't know. It's crazy stuff. And then, like I've talked about before in previous videos, you can't help but also think before just think about the entire experiment of what is the United States, right? The founding fathers had so instilled in them this democracy, this idea of democracy, right? And at the time when they did that, it was unheard of. They brought it upon themselves to come up with this idea of freedom. Because in Europe, you had your kings and queens. In China, you had your emperors. In Japan, you had your emperors. All over the world, you had single dictators stamped as the omega, the power of rule that rules the land however they see fit, right? Where did the idea, and generally a good one, like it's supposed to be, the idea of the foundation is good, freedom, the people choose, they gave us, things like the right to bear arms to combat. It's like they knew, bro. I'm still convinced that a lot of our founding fathers were Tartarian descendants and they were from the ancestors. That's how I feel. Possibly. I just feel like they tried to instill this. And that's why I hate to say it. If you step back, and this is all just hypothetical, for entertainment purposes only, but that's why if you step back and look at America as a whole, that's why you'll see that they're trying to break it down. It's all, they're trying to divide. They're trying to break it down, right? In theory. Is that because, what are they trying to dismantle? An idea of Tartarian origin? They're being planted in, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep on that, but Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And Jesus too. I think a lot about Jesus too in that whole thing. Absolutely. I feel like Jesus was definitely somebody that was not of this earth, of this land for sure, and was sent here or put here to show us maybe the potential that we could be or reach. If we found ourselves spiritually enlightened, maybe. So, yeah, that was a good one, guys. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to try to do it. Like, I'd like to do it twice a week. I'd like to do the readings of the books twice a week, just to read them and kind of put them out there and find them interesting, Like you said, it's all based on fictional accounts. It's all just for entertainment purposes. And it's all just to maybe make you think about things on another consciousness, if you will. Put yourself in another realm of thought and maybe just learn or teach us how to maybe live in a different way than what we're being shown. I don't know. And it really just starts like, that's kind of why I've always just said the message I've sent. Like, be kind to others. That's just a simple thing. But that's where it starts. That's where the foundation of caring and empathy and, and you got to watch it. Like you said, today's world is not just sunshine and rainbows out here. You got to watch your empathy because it could get you hurt. Really, it could. So, just use your instincts and be reasonable too, especially ladies out here. Don't be picking up hitchhikers and crazy stuff like that. Watch, guys. Just watch yourself when you're out in the stores. It's different now than it's ever been. So, just really watch yourself, especially the ladies out there. So, yes, I'm going to call it a night. Stay in love, stay in the light, and then be watching for a video. I've got a good one that kind of it's a good video I got on deck for in light of hunting. It's a creepy, like kind of a creepy pasta type video. It's going to be good though. You'll like it. So, all right, stay in the love, stay in the light. Be kind to others. I am out.